Tom Holland is Nathan Drake?
I do have the first 4. Haven't played them in a while. So, what's the worst that can happen? I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Hello, I'm just another reviewer, and I will be reviewing the movie Uncharted, starring Mr. Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland, and Mark Wahlberg from The Happening. The movie follows a young Nathan Drake as he embarks on an adventure with Victor Sully Sullivan as they go off to find Magellan's map and go on a globe-trotting adventure looking for something that may get remnants of his brother back. When I first heard about this movie, I was like, Tom Holland? You casted Tom Holland, little spider iron boy, to be 35-year-old Nathan Drake? He would not be my first choice. And then Mark Wahlberg as Sully. Like, I can see him pulling it off, but still not, like first choice material. It's a little odd casting, almost like they just want the star power instead of accuracy to the games. Yeah, so my thoughts going into this is going to be a horrible movie. It's not that good. It's just going to turn out to be another stinker video game movie. So my expectations were on the floor, below minimum average, no expectations. So I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. Like, I enjoyed it. I came out enjoying it. I was like, wow, that's way better than I thought it was going to be. I played through some of the games before seeing the movie, and it captures some essence and spirit of the games, like certain little visual cues and stuff, but acting wise and in certain other ways it doesn't really capture the games, and that's kind of like my consensus of this movie. It's like, it's better than I thought it would be, but it's still, there's really a dichotomy of like getting it kind of right and then kind of wrong, or a lot wrong, depending how you look at it. So I'll probably cut up this review by positives and negatives, because at the end of the day, this is a solid adventure film, a little derivative, but I mean, the whole series was like that. I mean, it's based off of Indiana Jones and action adventure serials. It was always had inspiration from these type of movies, and so I don't feel like that's too far off the mark for what an Uncharted movie would be like. But yeah, nobody should go into this movie thinking it's some groundbreaking, top of the line, era defining action adventure film. Like, it's on the better side, I believe. I know, I already saw some critic reviews saying that it was on like the lower, not so good side, but I don't agree with that. Like, I went in with zero expectations and went out having a good time. So You should definitely see it, especially for a certain scene that I'll mention in the pros section. Yeah, let's get on. Let's do pros and cons. Let's make a little list to see if you are willing to see this movie. Okay, pro number 1. The action is pretty good. Pretty good. Like, it's entertaining, and there's a lot of, like, you know, very Indiana Jones-esque running around, and it's a lot like, some parts do really feel like the game and stuff, and especially like the traversal, like him climbing literally looked like leaps that Nathan Drake would do in the games. Tom Holland is fun, and Mark Wahlberg is also pretty decent. The problem is they're not playing the characters from the games. No, they are not. I still do not see Nathan Drake to be Tom Holland. Like, it was funny, I was playing through the old Uncharted games and stuff, and at certain points, Nathan Drake actually did little mannerisms that reminded me of Tom Holland from the Spider-Man movies, which I was surprised. I was like, maybe Tom Holland will end up being a good Nathan Drake. But at the end of the day, I don't think he pulls it off. There's certain little bits that sound a little like Nathan Drake, but I feel like, again, it's more like Peter Parker on an adventure without his Spider-Man suit. Mark Wahlberg is alright. He's entertained. Like, they're all entertained. Like, this is an entertaining adventure movie, but they just threw the skin of the Uncharted franchise on it. Because Mark Wahlberg is great, and very entertaining. But he's not Sully, you know? Wow, I was going to put this into a pros and cons list, but it seems like this structure is falling apart. You know who was on my positive list, though, is Sophia Taylor-Ali as Chloe Fraser. I think she gives the best performance at a scale of being close to the games while also doing her own thing. Like, it was a good, like, balance, unlike the other two that are just playing themselves. She's actually playing Chloe Fraser from the games, this adventurer that shows up in Uncharted 2. She does a great job. She's charismatic. She really hits the one-liners and stuff, and she plays a good thief. Sometimes the fighting scenes were a little shaky and stuff, but you could follow what's going on and see some really cool moves there thrown on top of each other. And I felt like on certain parts there's some clever tension building, suspense building that you'd find in these movies, but I think they're really well done in those certain scenes. There's a auction scene and a scene with a puzzle that's gone awry, and there's a good tension and suspense as, oh, is the other person going to get their part of the plan done or not? You know, that type of stuff. They also implemented a nice little way to use modern technology in treasure hunting when they use this, like, Find My Phone app on a certain puzzle they have in a city where they're on different levels and stuff. It was a unique, creative way to use modern technology because, of course, it seems like every movie now has to show that, oh, we have tech and small smartphones now. So I don't know why that's a thing, but it is. But yeah, the thing I found to be the best part of this movie, and the reason you should get a ticket to this movie to see in theaters, I think, is the action scene in the cargo plane, taken straight from the game, the third game in the series, Drake's Deception. Wow, it was great there. Like, I recently played it, so I'm like, it's fresh in my mind. It felt like a one-shot. It's like the greatest, I think it's the best set piece in the whole series. And then they put this into the movie. They did a great job with that too, because it's just like, it's so action-packed. It's like the craziest, like, Fast and the Furious type scene in the movie. It ends up being shot in a one-shot. It ends up being a one-shot. That was a great scene. Like, I was like, the whole time, and it was crazy. So yeah, that's a scene I'd say is worth the price of admission, and it's at a certain point in the story, but then it's also a flash forward at the beginning. That's not a spoiler, is it? That doesn't count. I don't think it counts as a spoiler since it's like the first minutes into the movie. It's just like the best Uncharted games, 2 and 4, that start with a flash forward in the middle of the action, in the middle of the story somewhere, and you try to, you know, work your way back to that thrilling set piece you're on. It reels you in and really gets you excited for when you're going to get to that part again. So on the cons side of things, while that scene was really good, I felt like at times the CGI or how they framed the camera really, like, took me out of it. It looked too computery gamey, and some of the action gets like that sometimes, so that may be something that'll take people out of the movie. Another thing is, I feel like they didn't have enough like emphasis on the history and the treasure they were going after. I believe it was Magellan they were going after this time. Like, the games are good about putting a good focus on the story, so you know it keeps you invested on why are we going on this whole treasure quest in the first place. Like, there's like an interesting story with the explorer that they're, you know, going after. Gives them like a reason to be there, and it's kind of interesting. It's like an alternate history type situation. But here it felt like they didn't touch on it as much. I mean, the villain had motivations tied to it, but they talk about that only like a few times, and it felt like it's just a forgettable element to me, when in the games it's much more prevalent. Yeah, and another negative I'd have to say is Sony's trailers. They give away way too much. Like, if you saw the trailers, you saw pretty much a good chunk of the movie. So that's more on the corporate side of things, not really with the movie, but still, like, they need to stop doing that, because there's like, there's stuff that happens that are hinted at the end, and they're like, why did you save that to the end and also show it in the trailer for the movie? It's just a big problem that a bunch of little Hollywood studios have right now. I don't know why they do that. It just takes away from the joy and experience of discovering the scenes for yourself. But yeah, there's just some stuff they set up, so this is a good segue into mild spoiler territory. Actually, mild to kind of a lot spoiler territory. Skip to this time code wherever my editor puts it in. Seriously? Per tradition. They set up Sam, which is interesting. The lackluster bit about that after credit scene was showing that, you know, he's out in jail and stuff, is they don't show what he looks like. I understand it, since they're probably leaving room for who they want to cast into the role. That's usually how they do that type of scene in movies, when they don't show a certain character. And they kind of did that again with the after credit scene when they run into someone who's arresting them. But that felt even dumber, because it could have just shown like a group of men or something, just to alleviate. Like, I felt like that was just random. And then also the audience that I was with was like, huh? And they were just confused, because why cut it off? They didn't even really hint that it was like some big person there. Like, they name dropped the villain of the first one, who's like the worst villain in the whole series. They're so flat. Gabriel Roman, name drop him and almost make the after credits scene like a segue little prelude into the first game. But I hope they don't focus on him or cast him, because unless they spice up what he does and his characteristics and stuff, it's just, he's like the worst one. He's the most bland, generic villain. So if they went with him, that's like the worst one to go with of all the villains in the series. And that's something I like that they did, that they introduced Sam so early, because for those of you who have played the game, Sam doesn't show up to the fourth one as like a brother he never had, which would have been soap opera-y, but they handled it really well. But it was nice to have him be in the story early on. That's something I really liked, actually. The first scene you see of Nate and Sam, and they're hanging outside of that building, it felt so much like it was ripped straight from the fourth game. Like, I actually geeked out on that part, because they got the actors to look just like them, and it was solid. It was a solid scene, and I was like, that's straight from Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Buy now. But yeah, that was an interesting setup. And another thing to talk about is they killed off Antonio Banderas halfway through the movie. Like, you got the boy Antonio Banderas? Oh, that's so bad. So you get Antonio Banderas, this great actor, and he was literally, his best scene yet was playing out where he was telling about, oh, my family, we have been through so much, and all that, and like, we didn't get the treasure like we wanted. Like, that was so good. He was such a good job, and then they killed him off. Like, just as he was getting good and interesting, like, his performance was really elevating up to a good little, like, a good line of cheese and camp to go along with the rest of the tone of the movie, but also be like a threat, and it was like so good. But then they killed him off. It kind of harkens back to the first Uncharted, where the right-hand man ends up taking out the main guy. Spoiler alert. A spoiler within a spoiler section, my bad. But it's crazy that they just killed him off and then made her the lead. She was, I can't even remember her name. Braddock. How memorable. Don't get me wrong, the actress did. I know, she did good. She did good. Like, she was threatening, she was bad. There's not much else to say. Like, it was a solid performance, but you know, still. You killed my boy Antonio Banderas. Spy Kids 3D. Spy Kids 2. But But yeah, I still don't know how to feel about that. Like, that was just, I think that's a more of a you thing. Like, if you find that twist good or bad or what. And it was interesting to try to show a slit throat in PG-13, but it looked like someone just drew on his neck, which was kind of funny. It looked like one of his henchmen drew crayon on his neck. He was like, I faked my death. No, that's funny. It's real cute. But yeah, if you're going into this movie thinking it's like the next groundbreaking thing, it's not. You should just chillax. Like, it's a good movie. It's a fun adventure movie. Like, they don't make that many adventure movies anymore. So if you like that genre, go out and enjoy this movie. Like, it's solid. Like, I was surprised. That's just something I picked up on that critics were like saying, it's just a retread. It just nods to other movies and stuff. Why can't we just have fun movies anymore? Like, I know I fall into the same camp. I'm like, I'm a freaking critic. This movie's garbage because it didn't change the way I like watching movies. It didn't go hologram on me. It didn't go super 3D, 4D, 5D on me. It didn't revolutionize plot. Like, dude, it's just a movie. Chillax. It realized what the movie's going for. A fun action-adventure romp that the whole family can see, or most of the family can see. I think that's a problem with the movie industry, that it almost seems like groundbreaking is a requirement, and if it doesn't become groundbreaking or super innovative, then it gets docked points or something, when it should be just the element that like pushes it forward into being like a great movie. Like, it's just an extra element. Like, if it has it, that's awesome. If it's a solid movie at what it does, that's cool too. So yeah, I'd recommend this movie. It's a fun time at the theater. It's a nice little romp to watch with the family. A good action adventure. There's good jokes, good quips. Some of them fall flat, but you know, pretty good. Like, there's a solid, genuine energy to it, which is a lot like in the games. I forgot a spoiler thing. Wait real fast. New spoiler warning right now. Bruh, Nolan North showing up on the beach. That was, I don't know, that was just amazing. I loved to hear and see him on the big screen. Like, what a legend. What a voice acting legend. I love him. But yeah, I'd give it a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Like, it's solid. It's a good movie to go see. I would recommend the games. They're so freaking good, and I might do a video on that because I did play through all 4 of them and wrote down notes and stuff. So I think I have to do it at this point. Do a video for it. So hopefully we'll do that. But this has been just another reviewer. It's a solid movie. Go see it if you like that type of movie. Yeah. Spider-Man and Marky Mark forever. Oh my gosh, I just stole that from Fantano. Okay, I need to come up with a new outro. Oh, I got one. Okay. Good.